Hello and welcome to Living Right to Chris. My name is Chris Isfekin, and I'm super excited to welcome you to the last week of February. Um, this is the last episode in this month, and the month of February. Remember, I said when we started that I'm dedicating this month the to our teenagers, right? And the teachings, yes, is relevant to all, but our main focus is on teenagers. And the theme for the month was relationships and social dynamics, navigating people, pressure, and purpose, right? And for 3 weeks now, we've been talking about a lot of topics that relates to the broad theme. All right. So this week we're looking at a topic that says social identity and influence, standing out without losing yourself. All right. The best way to discovering yourself is to live out your purpose from the lens of your values. In fact, you cannot discover who you are by copying others. You discover yourself by living from your values. And one of the reasons why teenagers don't live from their values is because of pressure, the influence of their peer, right? Or their peers over their choices. Okay? So there are a lot of things to talk about, but the first thing I want to look at, the first subtheme says the pressure to belong versus the call to be different. Now, there are things that teenagers desire, right? Things that they really want to do most of the time because of peer pressure, right? So this pressure comes as a result of fear of being mocked or excluded, then the pressure to follow trends, yeah, and then anxiety about being left behind, being left out, being the odd one out, right? Because everyone is doing it, so they want to, feel belonged or feel among the crowd. And also, there are hidden costs of belonging at any price, because of all of this anxiety and pressure to follow trend. Most teenagers want to just belong or feel among, at all costs, and then there are you know, genuine, real costs for wanting to be among the crowd at all costs. And some of those costs, one of them is loss of personal values. So you see that they crave for being alone among others, or be among the crowd, make a lot of teenagers lose their personal values. Also, there's confusion about identity. This is one of the serious problem of young people today. They do not know who they are, right? And that is why a lot of social vices are coming up today as a result of people not knowing who they are. All right. So there's also regret after compromises are made. When teenagers make compromise and they see that the after effects of their compromise, but they see that it's not really favorable, there is bound to be regret for the things that they have done, right? And this regret, most of the time, is not something that they can actually. It's something that goes with them for life, right? If care is not taken, there are some subtle, there are some that are little that they can actually change. Some others are foundational that you know they cannot change even at adulthood, right? So another thing that it becomes a cost to them is living for approval, not for purpose. You see that they're not living their life for social approval, for the gram, they're living their life for societal approval, for peers approval, and not for purpose, right? And anything that is led without purpose in mind cannot live to its full potential. So when someone lives their life outside the mirror of purpose, that person cannot live the best life that he or she could. All right. All right. So it is true that belonging feels good temporarily, but integrity lasts longer. Integrity to stay true to the purpose lasts longer than the momentary uh, feel good of belonging. Okay. So I would talk about the next something we'll say comparison culture and insecurity. What causes insecurity among teenagers is this idea of comparison. So where does comparison come from? Comparison comes from social media highlights, academic rankings, physical appearance, family expectations. Now, the truth is, what teenagers see online most of the time is one of the greatest pressure that they face. You know, most of them are unspoken pressure, but they see it. They see their mates on social media living a certain kind of life that they love and they don't have. And they forget that most of the time, the life that you see on social media are usually fake life. And there are two realities: realities, the visual realities that happens online, and the real, reality that happens on ground. So when they begin to compare the life with the fake life depicted on social media, they're pressured, right? They're pressured, and this brings insecurity to them. They begin to feel, unsecured or insecure rather. So they begin to feel insecure, with themselves. Another thing is when a teenager is not doing well or too well academically in relative terms, right? When they look at their neighbors or their siblings and those ones are doing better, there is this tendency to feel insecure, right? And also physical appearance. You see people who think that other people look better than them. They say this person just looks so fine, right? And perhaps because they're going through their puberty stage, having acne on their faces and all that, they feel insecure about themselves. These are challenges of teenagers, right? And they need adults to make them understand that what you're going through is a phase, that you are beautiful the way you are, that your academic level right now, you can be better because nobody is born, nobody was born a dollar, no. We are born geniuses. It is life and situation that the genius who we are. But the good thing is that we can always become who we want to be or we're meant to be. And the way to go is to study, to put in effort. No one puts in effort and don't get the results. So when we lay back to say, oh, I'm not getting it right, and then we refuse to put in the effort that is required to get it, then we will not get it. So they need to understand that um, sacrifice of time and effort we put at something will yield the result that we need. Because consistency at a thing gives mastery in that thing. And that's when we can begin to own, the academics. And then family expectations. Sometimes family put a lot of pressure on their children, on their academics, on their uh, finances, and just pressure a teenager. Also, have you not seen your mate, making money and all that? Trying to, make a teenager become an adult all of a sudden, right? Those pressure from family or expectations from family most of the time still pressure our teenagers and make them feel insecure. When we begin to compare them with their mates, it brings insecurity to them, all right? And there are negative effects of constant comparison, especially coming from parents to their children. The first thing is that it breeds insecurity and low self-esteem. Also, envy and resentment begins to set in when we compare them with others, especially with their siblings. And also, it pressures them for fake success. And then they begin to do everything at all costs to become successful. Most of the teenagers we see today who are into all forms of vices to make money are doing it most of the time to show success, and from the standpoint of negativity. So they can do anything, including ritual killing to make money, to prove a point to people and to their parents. And also, there is a loss of joy and gratitude when constant comparison setting. Teenagers don't feel joyful. Their joy dies, and then they don't show gratitude for the little things that they get. So we need to know that comparison makes you blind to your own progress. So teenagers, do not compare yourself with another. But I'm reminded of the scripture that says they comparing themselves with themselves are not wise. So it is unwise to compare yourself with others. And it's also unwise for parents to compare one child with the other. It's unwise. Our children are unique and uniquely made, and they are wonderful and excellent just the way they are, but they can be better. And what we can do is to nudge them into how they can become better versions of themselves and not necessarily how they can outdo someone else. All right? And we must understand that there is a whole world of difference between inspiration, that's inspiring the children to be better, and comparison. When you tell your children that, are you not seeing your mates are doing this and doing that, you're not inspiring them, you're comparing them, and comparison destroys, while inspiration, pushes them to become better versions of themselves. The difference is that you are not doing it in comparison with someone else, or with respect to someone else. You're doing them, you're spurring them, inspiration talks about spurring them to become better versions of themselves. Comparison talks about pushing them to become better than someone else. And that is different. So the next thing I want to talk about is social media identity versus real self. There is this online identity that most teenagers put up, right? And you would see that online identity is usually curated, they are edited, they are performance driven, they are validation based, right? While real identity, they are formed in private, they are built through values and choices, and they are revealed under pressure and also rooted in character. So you can see that online identity at best is fake, but the real identity comes from us keeping up with our values, which inform, excuse me, the choices that we make, and they are rooted in our character. So what you post is not who you are; it is what you choose to show. And most of the time, when we are pressured by the things that we see online, we should put it at the back of our mind that people only put online what they want the world to see. So it's like a persona that they are projecting, and it's usually the perfect person that they project for people to see. All right, and now we're living a world of likes and follows, where our worth is determined by the number of likes we get and the follow we have on social media. But I want you to ask yourself, would you still do it if no one is watching? If no one saw it, would you do it? Who are you when you're offline? That is the real person that you are. So the next thing I will talk about is the fear of rejection and standing alone. Why rejection hurts? The truth is that we are wired for connection. I said in an earlier video that we are relational beings. We are created for relationships. So when we do not have relationship around us, we don't have friendship around us, it's an abnormal or an abnormality for us because we are wired for connection. Right? That is why rejection hurts. And also, rejection feels like failure. And that is because, of course, we are wired for connection. And then the fear of isolation, being alone, the fear of being alone. But I need to say this, that being alone does not mean you're lonely. You must understand that being alone, you can be lonely while you are with people. And also you can not be lonely while you are still alone. The difference is what you know about yourself, self-awareness, and what you do with your time. That's what determines whether you are lonely or not. So the fear of isolation really push people into want to belonging to any circle, irrespective of their values. And this is wrong, especially for teenagers who knows what they are doing. And the truth that teens need to hear is that rejection does not equal worthlessness. That people don't want you in their circle does not mean that you are worthless. It only means that they do not share the same value with you. And then you're not a tree, walk away. Another thing you need to know, teenagers, is that not everyone will understand your values. And then that some doors close to protect your future. So every door that closes, they're not a negative to you because some needs to close for you to secure your future. Because some doors open and have consumed a lot of people. So I want you to ask yourself, which door have you entered into that has become a stumbling block for you? Please shut it, come out from it, and shut that door. You don't need to be there. You don't need to be everywhere. You don't need to be friends to everyone. Everyone does not need to like you. You are not ice cream. Even if you're ice cream, not everybody loves ice cream. So move. Only go to where you are celebrated, where you share the same values, where you are appreciated for your effort, where you are seen for who you are, not just for what you have. All right? Where you are valued because you are a human being. Okay? All right. I need to say that sometimes rejection is redirection. It's not an end in itself, but a redirection to somewhere else that is more glorious, that is better than where you were. All right? Okay. So I want to ask you a question. I want to take on, what are you afraid to lose? And what might you gain by standing firm to your values? I want you to think about it. It's very important. And then I will talk about another something that says leading without popularity. Um, People think that leadership is about popularity. That you have a lot of people who are following you. But this is one of the myths of leadership. I want to say that there are certain myths of leadership, and I will say them. One is that leaders are always liked. That is not true. Leaders are not, in fact, leaders are the most criticized. They're not the most loved. Another myth of leadership is that influence requires popularity. No, influence does not require popularity. Influence requires knowing what you are doing, ability to be visionary and own it. People would naturally be influenced when you are visionary. So it's not about popularity, it's about being visionary. And then another myth of leadership is that standing firm means standing alone forever. No, standing firm is knowing the right thing to do, putting your feet down in love to say, no, this is what we ought to do. And people naturally will align. People might fight it. And that is where we begin to give in as leaders. And that does not make you a good leader when you always cave in into the demands of the people you are leading. You must hold your ground, stand firm when you know that after checking to see that this thing is the right thing to do, you must hold on to it and not compromise at every point in time. All right. So, real leadership, what does it look like? Real leadership looks like consistency. It looks like integrity. Real leadership is quiet confidence. Real leadership is having the courage to say no, putting your foot down, stamping it down to say no. This is the way to go. We'll walk in it. The truth is, influence flows from conviction, not from the size of the crowd. All right. So we must begin to understand that when we are convicted about a thing, when we have conviction about a thing, and then we are visionary and we have the wherewithal to drive our vision, people naturally will gravitate toward us and begin to align to our vision. So in closing, I want to invite things to have this reflection. I want you to reflect on this. Who defines your identity right now? Also, what values guide your decisions? And then lastly, I want you to ask yourself, where do I need courage? Where do you need courage? What values guide your decisions? And who defines your identity right now? I want you to ponder on this because it will help you to shape who you are becoming, as a teenager. So, the task I want you to do this week is write down 3 values that you refuse to compromise, 3 non-negotiable values that you cannot compromise. And then I want you to take one day off in this week from social media. I call it social media fast. Take a day of 24 hours without social media, without looking at the phone, right? And then do one thing this week that aligns with your values, even if you do it unnoticed. Do it for yourself and not for the people. Yeah, so I'll end with this quote that you do not need to be loud to be influential. You only need to be rooted. So I want to thank you for being here. If you're new here, please subscribe to this channel. Give a thumbs up to this video. Invite your family and friends to subscribe to this channel and follow us so that they can get notified when we drop our teachings. I want to thank you always for showing up. And until next week, it is bye from me.